What is up, everybody? We have an exciting mock draft today. It's mock draft season. I have NHL Draft Pros Mark on and Link from New Wave Hockey. They have an incredible podcast or show, so you guys got to check them out. You guys can tell a little bit about your channel.
Go ahead, Link. You can have the first dibs.
Well, yeah, I'm New Wave Hockey. I'm Link over at New Wave Hockey. You can follow me on New Wave Hockey at Instagram, on YouTube, and LinkedIn Sevish on Twitter or X, is whatever they say. And yeah, I basically just I go really in depth into certain scouting profiles and I go into depth about this each and every draft class. I just recently posted a top 101 players for 2025, and yeah, I've been getting after it. I know we're about to get even more busy into the season, but yeah, everything's been great. I'm just coming back from abroad now, and I'll be posting more very soon. So yeah, Mark.
Mark from NHL Draft Pros, and I do same thing as Link. Basically, I do NHL prospects, scouting reports, draft targets, everything. So yeah, I'm on YouTube and X, NHL Draft Pros, and the pros stands for prospects. Some people have chirped me about that. I say I'm not a pro. I just like prospects.
You are a pro,
thank you guys
Mark.
so
Don't
much.
worry.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You're definitely a pro. Yeah, so for the first pick in this 2025 mock draft, I think the Islanders are going to run to the podium to select Matthew Schaefer. I just think that that's going to be who they're taking with Noah Dobson on the right side there. Matthew Schaefer's an elite top pair prospect, left-handed defenseman. I think that he has offensive skill and really good defensively last year too. So I think it's just a slam dunk pick.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Matthew Schaefer. I know, there's a low sample size. A lot of people kind of complain about that, but what he brings to the table is definitely elite. And we saw it at the World Juniors. I think that the biggest thing is that, on Team Canada, before he got injured, he was a top D. And you got to remember, Sam Dickinson was there too. So people were saying, oh, Sam Dickinson. But to be honest with you, Matthew Schaefer came into that tournament and almost kind of took over the reins there. So the small sample size, yeah, but internationally, how he looked, and at the U18s and Olympic and stuff like that, he's just a stud.
Yeah, absolutely. I also have Matthew Schaefer going here. He is my number 2 prospect in the entire draft. Me and Mark have gone back and forth about that over the year. You guys have been pretty positive about Matthew Schaefer, and I will be as well. I think he's a fantastic pick here at number 1, but I'm going to run into a little bit of negatives with him. Again, obviously, we talked about the sample size. He only played 18 games this year, 19 if you count the little bit versus Latvia where he suffered his broken collarbone that ended the season. With Matthew Schaefer, you're essentially getting what should be a franchise number 1 defenseman. But the worry is that you don't want to rush him a little bit. Obviously, I think that there are 2 players that are going to be NHL ready as of next year, and that's Michael Misa and potentially Matthew Schaefer. Again, we want to see how he comes back from this injury. It's a little bit scary that he's not been playing in, one, he didn't play in the OHL playoffs, but secondly, the U18s. So we'll see, but there's a large runway with him. There's a little bit of talk about him going to college. I don't think that's really based on anything. I think he'll be on the Islanders opening night roster after they take this pick. So very tremendous pick.
Yeah, you guys made great points. In those 1.5 games for Team Canada, he was the best player. And people like Michael Misa, who should have been there, wasn't even on the team. And Porter Martone played about 10 minutes per game or in those 3 games and scored a goal.
He was the best. I would say he was even like one of the best players, if not the best players on last year's U18 team. He was easily the best defenseman in my mind on that U18 squad, and he's really been showing himself out throughout the year. So for me, it's been a tough battle for number 1. I guess we'll talk about it when Misa goes 2, right, Mark? We'll see. So yeah,
maybe I won't go Misa 2. Yeah.
Oh man,
you know what? Listen.
So we'll start there. Yeah.
San Jose, you're gonna go Michael Misa number 2. You have to, and then now you're set up down the middle. You got Celebrini 1C, and you got Misa 2C. And you know what? I mean, the thing with Misa too, though, they can put him on the wing because he did play wing last year for Saginaw, so he does have that ability to move over to the wing if he wants to. But I mean, if you're in terms of teams always look for a top quality 1C and a top quality 2C, and then San Jose set up that way, and they got a nice young core there, and defensively they got some nice pieces. So yeah, you know what? I think that they go with Michael Misa at number 2. And yeah, he's one of my favorites too. I've watched him for 3 years now. My buddy's kid plays for Saginaw, so I've seen a lot of Saginaw hockey. I went to the Mem Cup, partied with the team. So yeah,
Nice.
Michael Misa, he's number 2 on the list. And this is from last year's playoffs, actually. Look at the dangles and the finish. I was at this game. Unreal. I couldn't believe it. This is actually in the playoffs, sorry. And this was phenomenal. Like, come on. You can't go wrong with that.
You really can't. Michael Misa, in my opinion, he's done everything perfect this year. I believe he plays what is described as a perfect game. Some people are worried about his offensive upside. I present to you the 134 points that he scored this year. Some people are worried that he's a one-dimensional player. I present to you last year's season where he was literally up and down the entire lineup. He played every single role. I think this is the most NHL-ready prospect in the entire draft. Bar none. I think that he is an immediate candidate for Calder next year. He's just a tremendous prospect. I think the Sharks really lucked out. Again, because they could have picked 1 or 2, theoretically 3, but I feel like their pick of Schaefer and Misa is just fantastic for them. I would love to see Misa on the wing with a guy like Celebrini. That I think is the perfect center for them down the middle. Again, if they want to move one of them as center and kind of have like a Connor and Leon like little gamble there, I'm perfectly fine with that too. I think both are tremendous. I think both are standout prospects. Obviously, one is an exceptional player from the past. I really think the world of Michael Misa, and I think he showed it off this year. If you have any doubts about it, please go back, watch it again. I've been banging on the table all year. Michael Misa is my favorite prospect, and I think it's going to be a great day when San Jose selects him number 2 overall.
Yeah, as a Hawks fan, I was very disappointed we fell to 3 because I wanted Michael Misa so much. I was actually going to bring up that Mark has seen Michael Misa play probably more than some scouts on teams. So he skates like the wind. He put up OHL numbers that compared to John Tavares and Patrick Kane, which he plays a complete game in my opinion. So yeah, Michael Misa would be fantastic for the Sharks. You guys nailed it on the head. And then for 3,
That's you, Linker. What do you got, buddy?
So I caught a little bit of flack for this because I recently just posted what I think the mock draft is going to look like, or the draft is going to look like, and Chicago is going to make it interesting. It's 3 is where everything gets shaken up, obviously, just like Anaheim from last year. Obviously, there's some boys on the board. Denoyer is there if you want to make a 1-2 punch down the middle. Hagens is there, the really solid player who I think could be a 1 seed to pair with Bedard, but it looks like he could be a 1-2 punch down the middle with Bedard. He'd be a 2nd seed. Everyone talks about Porter Martone, but I'm not convinced that he is going to go that early. So I'm going to go with a guy that I don't think is going to stick at center, but is going to be a fantastic wing alongside Connor Bedard. Give me Anton Frondel, 3rd overall. And I know this has been a controversial opinion. I've had this opinion for a long time. I know the Hawks fans are going to be raging down there in the comments. And yeah, I'll debate every single one of you. Anton Frondel, one of a really potent scorer, a really prolific passer, and I think one of the better off puck IQ guys in this entire draft. When he's in the offensive zone, there are hardly better players that can like be there and be better scorers than him. My issues with him kind of range from his transition game is not the greatest. However, he's walking into a facility with one of the best young defensive cores in the entire league, and Connor Bedard. So that's not bad at all. I get it if they want someone with a little bit more speed to pair with Bedard. Obviously, they would go somewhere else, but I think Anton Frondel has an excellent amount of potential, and I think he's going to score a lot of goals alongside Mr. Connor Bedard over there.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I was watching Mark's video, and every single time I saw a toe drag release, it was just, oh my gosh, this guy's one of the best shooters in the entire draft. And I know Blackhawks fans might be a little upset here, but this is exactly who I think that the Blackhawks are going to take, him or Caleb Desnoyers, the pronunciation I got from Link. So I think that those 2 players are going to be the players that are in consideration. I don't think it's going to be Porter Martone because it's not the player profile that they usually draft. Bad skaters. They love elite skaters. I think Porter Martone's woos, like skating, have kind of gone overblown there. But if the Blackhawks have him, 6 or 7, which could potentially be the case, I think Frandel and Desnoyers will be 3 and 4. So yeah, that was a great pick, Link. What do you think?
Okay, so you got you updating this right here.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So yeah, you know what? The thing I've been a high on Frondell for a while now, actually. And it's one of those things where he's a big kid and he still has room to grow. Like you can still tell that he still doesn't have that full maturity, I guess, in his game and his skating especially. But in terms of the hockey upside, and his shot is elite. Like he's got an elite shot. His one timer on the power play is just unreal. The amount of goals that he scored in Gardens for in the Allsvenskan was fantastic. And you got to remember, he's playing against men, and he had one of the best, actually the best U18 seasons ahead of Nylander and Pasternak and stuff like that. So you got a player who's already put up big points in a men's league, and he was he was important in them getting out of or getting relegation, I guess, moving up into the SHL. So yeah, I think Frondell, you can't go wrong. Like you said, there's going to be some fans that are going to complain about this pick, but I don't have a problem with it at all, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of Frondell, and yeah, that's a good pick. You're gonna get a little trashing for that though.
Bring it on,
Like
boys. I'm telling you. Bring it
you're
on.
used to it though. You're used to it.
I mean, look,
good.
Chicago's getting lucky this week. You guys got the Pope from Chicago. I mean, it's all good. You guys are feeling good. If you feel as though you want to take it out on me, but with all your good luck, that's fine. It's fine with me.
Rocco's going to be in the comment section. I feel that the transition game for Frondell will be a little better because he's playing on the bigger ice. So going into the North American game too, I think that will also help his transition game, which I've seen on some lists were like 8 and 14 out of 100, which I think is a little overblown. But yeah, that's just a point I wanted to make there. And then at 4, we have the Utah Hockey Club. And I am going to go with it would have been Anton Frondell here, but I think James Haggins is going to stop falling. I know that this might not be the pick that many want or think it's going to be, but I think James Haggins might be he's definitely a top 4 player in this class, and it could be Porter Martone, but I think Porter Martone is there's just too much variable to where he's going to go. So I'm going to say James Haggins here. I really like his playmaking ability with all those players.
That's a good pickup. It doesn't fit the mold for Utah. They usually go pretty big, but I mean, you know what? You can't pass up a top scorer or top point producer like James. And he's another one that I think that he's got another level. I think he's still kind of, slight. He's a little bit small still. I think that once he fills out and he gets bigger and stronger, I think that because that hockey IQ and that elite vision, you can't teach that. So, the physical tools you can kind of improve. So I wouldn't be surprised if Utah, changes direction. They got all the beasts already that they've picked in the last few years. So maybe they go a little bit smarter, faster. Hockey player Haggins is a good choice there.
Yeah, I really like Higgins here. I do think they have a lot of center depth over there in Utah, but you can never have too much center depth. I really think Higgins is in the tier of Misa and Schaefer. I know that Mark does not agree with me, but I think that he's a clear top 3 player. He showed it this year in Boston College. It was a little bit of a rough year for Boston College as well. And I have no issues with this pick. I really think that obviously, like Mark said, Porter Martone could be the pick here, the more realistic pick because of size. However, I tend to lean a little bit more towards like a Jackson Smith. I think they're really close to getting out of a hole that they've been in for a long time. And I think an offensively minded defenseman could be the answer to that position. And usually when they like to reach for the guy that they want, that guy's usually in the WHL. That's like kind of what I usually pick up. So I think Jackson Smith is a very strong target to land at 4. But James Higgins, I'd be happy if he was going to Mormon country. I'd love it.
I think Jackson Smith is awesome. I always thought of him as like a Kevin Korchinski, but like a better Kevin Korchinski with defensive upside. So I think that they could go him or Porter Martone as well. If Jackson Smith doesn't go to 4, I think he can fall to like 10. So there's just so much variability.
That being said, yeah, I don't have Jackson Smith inside of my top 10, which I will say, but he's definitely flirting with the top 10. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be taken higher, and he's like kind of one of the candidates to be taken within the top 5 if there is a second defenseman taken in the top 5.
All right, that was great. So top 4 is Schaefer, Misa, Frondell, and Haggins. We're gonna go to 5 to Mark for the Nashville Predators. Who do you think?
All right, so we got Nashville, eh? So Nashville probably would have been a nice landing spot for Haggins. But since you scooped him up right before that, well, I'm gonna have to go with the next best player centerman on the list because their centermans are getting kind of old. You got Stammer and who's the other one there? Stammer and O'Reilly. So yeah, you know what? Let's go with gotta go Desnoyers. Caleb
you're killing me.
Desnoyers. Hey, did you
Nice.
want him, Link?
Oh, did I want him? Just explain your pick. Let's go.
I know you wanted Caleb Desnoyers. Hey, listen, I actually in my mock I have Caleb Desnoyers going to the Flyers just the way it played out. But listen, here's a player that just has improved all season long. Now, Link and I always talk about progression. We talk about progression, and he is a player who has progressed all season long. He's gotten better as the season's worn on, and the playoffs. He's absolutely doing great things for Moncton right now in the playoffs. And I just think that he still, he's really good, 200-foot player defensively and all that kind of stuff. So and I think that he complements a line really well. So let me get a clip of Desnoyers here. We're gonna show him with some hands right here. So yeah, this is he's got the tools. He's got the tools, the skill set to be a top line player. I mean, he's a top 6 player for sure. And I think he'd be a nice pickup for Nashville. And he adds a little size too. Considering, they got Matthew Wood and Surin and stuff like that the last couple of drafts. So yeah, I think that'd be a nice pick for them.
So for Blackhawks fans, oh, go ahead.
No, go. You got him. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, like, what do you think Caleb Desnoyers' comp is, or what could his point upside be? Because I know that Blackhawks fans are very stressed that he could potentially be the pick at 3, but he would be a phenomenal fit defensively with Connor Bedard on a wing. So what do you think his player comp would be, you think?
I would say you're looking at more of a complete center overall. Let me look back to what I comped him as. Look, I would say that right now you're looking at somebody who is a solid goal scorer. You're looking at someone who is a solid distributor as well. I want people to kind of go back and think about what Matt Duchene was projected to be in his draft year, and I think that that's kind of what people are looking at. Kind of first few years Avalanche with Matt Duchene. Another one is probably Sam Reinhart right now. I think those are two solid comps. It's just goal scoring centers who are pretty solid defensively. So I think those are two just fair comparisons.
Those are phenomenal. Yeah.
All right.
And yeah, there's a reason why I wanted him. So yeah, I guess we'll move on to the Flyers now. Yeah.
Now Link gets his Flyers. Sorry, I messed you up there, buddy. I want to. I'm interested to see who you go with now, since a couple of your boys are gone.
So yeah, I have to pivot here, and I have to pick between. Obviously, there's 2 wingers that I really like, Porter Martone and Victor Eklund, who I kind of, if I'm being real honest with you, I ranked one over the other, but I'm kind of neck and neck on them now. I could obviously go for Jake O'Brien here at 6. I can go for Roger McQueen here at 6. I can even go for a guy like Jackson Smith or even a Brady Martin here at 6. But I'm not going to complicate things. I'm going to go with a guy who I really think fits the mold of what the Flyers need to do and need to prioritize from here on out. Obviously, we have a big scorer in Owen Tippett who needs to score a little bit more. I think we can get another big net front presence, big player, a solid enough skater with the puck. Needs to get better with the effort, but is a really tremendous passer and a really great net front presence. I want you to give me Porter Martone here at number 6. There's a lot of issues with this game. There's a lot of things that we need to kind of clean up. Obviously, the off puck kind of negligence is not great. People lazily will compare him to a guy like Corey Perry or Matthew Tkachuk. I haven't seen him throw the hits to necessify that type of comparison. I think he's a guy who looks like a Joe Pavelski if you develop him the right way. I think no matter what you're getting, no matter what you're looking at here, he has the offensive upside, the shot, pass, the offensive instincts and smarts to get you about 60 to 70 points a season. What you do after that is kind of, again, it's up to how you develop this guy. Because I think that you really have something special here He's a captain in the OHL. He's a very smart player. He's a very solid player. You have to see what you have in his development. You have to see what you have in his physical development. And for goodness sakes, please get his feet moving. But I would be happy to have Porter Martone in Philly because I think he fits the mold.
Yeah, he's another player that I saw a lot this year, actually, live a few times. And my only contention with him is that his pace sometimes he just disappears off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
and very inconsistent in terms of. But then when he gets motoring, when he gets and his hands, oh my God! There was one game I went to see him play in Barrie, and he was literally surrounded by 4 players, and he came out with the puck like he was just toe dragging everyone, and it was unreal. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he got out of that corner like that. So the skill set's there. Like I said, the only concern, and and like Link said, he's not a huge hitter. He's physical where he protects the puck really well. He uses his body as leverage. I wouldn't consider him like someone like Brady Martin who just absolutely trucks people. But yeah, the skill set's there, and you can't go wrong with Porter Martone in the top 10 for sure.
I would say everybody picked ahead of him besides Higgins is more physical than him. So that's kind of, just take that what you will. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Porter Martone isn't a slow skater, but his first 3 strides are probably what he needs to work on. His
You can work on
power,
that. Yeah.
power skating, yeah, for sure. And if he goes to the NCAA, maybe plays with Luke Misa a little bit at Penn State, I think that would be a phenomenal fit.
yeah, I
So
was about to say.
if they get Michael Misa too over there too, like holy moly,
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Michael Misa will be in the NHL, but to get Misa, and I'm gonna be real with you, I really think he's gonna go to Penn State. It's a hockey destination now. That would be electric. That would be really, really cool. So
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
that's a great pick for the Flyers, him and Mitchkov. So we're gonna go to me now with Boston, and I think this is a easy pick for me. I'm gonna go Roger McQueen. I know Don Sweeney has actually seen him play at least 3 times live, so I think Roger McQueen is definitely going to be the top or the 7th pick here. He had 4 goals in his first game this year. And a lot of people after that game were tweeting first pick, number 1 pick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he had a back injury that kept him out for 4.5 months.
I remember reading
but
that. Yeah.
yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
He compares himself to Ryan Getzlaff. That's what he told me. 6'5", right-handed center. Look at that move right there. Oh my God. Pretty good playmaker too. He has the puck on the string a lot, and for someone that's 6'5", he just kind of reminds me of like what Kirby Dach could have been a little bit. He has a more of like soft skill too. He can use his body, but he moves very, very well. So I want your guys' opinion on this one too.
Yeah, Roger McQueen, he's another. When it's funny because he scored, he had like 8 points in his first 4 games, and people were going, "Oh, he's going to contend for first overall," and I'm like, again, I was like, Misa, no, this guy, Misa's better than this guy. Not to take away anything from Roger McQueen. However, I just, looking at the top of the class, I was like, I don't think he fits in there, but he does have, he's got really good skill set. And, the only concern is a back issue. Is it one of those lingering ones? Kaden Lindstrom came back in the playoffs this year finally, but he was off for like a year and a half. And so, when you got disc issues, especially at a young age, like how's that going to affect you long term? So I think there's going to be a little hesitancy for teams with Roger McQueen, and he might drop a little bit. But at this point, like right now for Boston, I mean, it's a Boston type player for sure.
absolutely. I think he's a bit modest when he says that his comparison is Ryan Getzlaff. Ryan Getzlaff is a fantastic player. He's a great all around player, but I think he has an offensive upside of a guy like Quentin Byfield. Just the crazy hands with that amount of reach, with the skating that he's able to do. I think he's a creation wizard. He's able to create plays out of nothing. His passing can be really, really solid. One of my favorite things to watch are just Roger McQueen zone entries because they're so good. And he's such a great player with the puck. I would love to see him get better without the puck, but I think he's going to be a guy that really you can drive your offense through. But again, it all comes back to that dreaded word, injuries. Again, that disc is no joke. We saw very well, very clearly what happens when you take a player that high, and the injuries are more legit than we thought. I think that Kate Lindstrom is going to do well next year when he goes over to Michigan State. It's still unconfirmed. I think I think he's going to go over eventually. We'll see. But that's obviously something you don't want to happen here. I think he will fall. I don't think he's going to fall past like 15 because that's just there's too much talent to just pass him
Yeah.
there with that, man. But yeah, I like this I actually had him going 7th in my mock draft because again, this is a total Don Sweeney
Woo!
pick.
That's
So
hot.
yeah,
That's hot.
hitting a lot of notes.
I love it. You guys are you're in sync. It's fantastic.
Yeah, same wavelength. Oh my God, we're like Justin
Yes.
Timberlake. That's an instinct joke.
Yeah.
But top 15, like imagine if he goes to the Habs with their roster and then they get like Carter Bear or someone. I think that's I don't know. I would be a Habs fan at that point. But yeah. At 8, we have the Seattle Kraken who creep up. Mark, sorry.
I
who are
got
you taking?
I got Seattle. So this is an interesting spot for Seattle because they're pretty much loaded at the center position. They got Beniers and Wright and Catton. So yeah, they're loaded up. So now they could go, realistically at this spot, I like Jake O'Brien. However, I don't think that Seattle's going to pick up Jake O'Brien. So they're going to go with, they need some left-handed D. The top left-handed D right now, Jackson Smith, Tri-City. And guess what? His buddy, Lucas Dragesevich, is drafted by Seattle. So why not team them up? Yeah, and this kid is big. He's mobile. He's got some offensive upside. At the U18s, he was just vanilla. I didn't think that he, did anything special, but you did see some glimpses of it. And like, I keep showing clips of his skating as a defenseman. Like look at that. Come on now. And I got a lot more clips of those of his rushing the puck. Now, obviously, there's some work that he needs to do a little bit defensively, but he's young, and and again, he's an 07. Link and I have always had this discussion about their date of birth. I always look at that, and he put up 40 some points in 60 games in the dub as a defenseman. That's really, really good. So yeah, I like Jackson Smith at this spot. O'Brien if a team needed a centerman, but Seattle's loaded with centers, so we're gonna go with Jackson Smith out of Tri-City.
I agree. I have the exact same pick. I'm a little bit worried about Smith for a couple of reasons. Again, I get concerned, I get jumpy when I see a guy like this. Usually when you're looking at an offensive defenseman, you want him to put up more points in his draft year. That's like kind of baseline what you want there. Even a guy like Carter Yakimchuk was putting up more points at this point of the season. I think he's a bit of an identity crisis at the blue line. Someone needs to teach him how to defend a little bit better. However, on rushes, I love his stick. I love what he does. He's one of the best guys at closing gaps in the entire draft. He just needs to get better defense. He's a very raw prospect to say that for a long, long time. But at 6'3", 190 pounds, you can conquer the world. And you've seen his skating. You've seen the way that he can handle the puck. If he gets just a little bit less selfish and he just coaches up on defense, I think you have yourself one hell of a prospect here. And Seattle can really dig themselves out of a hole that they've kind of put themselves in. But I do really like this pick. I really do. It would kind of dig themselves out of like the Edward Shala sized hole that they've dug themselves into.
That's a good point. And every single mock draft, I've either seen Radim Merca here or a defenseman. So I actually think that the Kraken are going to go D here. Yeah. 6'3", he's big. A lot of people don't talk about how big he is. Yeah, so that's a really good pick there.
Yeah.
All right. That's me at 9, right?
Is the Sabres. Yep.
Yeah. So again, it pains me because this guy that I'm about to pick is one of my favorite players in this entire draft. Buffalo, they don't need centers. Let's not beat around the bush. It's going to be Victor Eklund here at 9. I think one of the most underestimated players in the entire draft. I've really kind of taken hold of Eklund and kind of just, this guy needs to be put on the pedestal. You're going to look at him in a few years and be like, oh, this guy's a top 5 pick. What are we doing here? What are we discussing? Just the skating, the shot, the passing, the effort. We can talk about the effort every single day of the week. And I've had a running bet going with whoever wants to listen. But once we get to the combine, if you see this guy weigh in at above 5'11" and at 180 pounds at least, I will feel vindicated because this guy is a very strong player. He's playing against men all year in the Allsvenskan. He was physically dominant in the World Juniors this year. I would say that he was Sweden's best player, arguably, in that tournament. He looked really, really solid. In a tournament where notably Anton Frundell was not there. I'm not saying that one's better than the other right now. We're not going to talk about that right here, but Victor Eklund, he is a very, very intriguing player, and he's exactly the type of player that Buffalo needs for a culture change.
Yeah, I think Eklund might actually when I was watching him play, I was more impressed than Anton Frondell. So it's always surprising when I ask a Swedish prospect who's the best player they've ever played against, because usually it's Anton Frondell, but I'm not playing in the games, and it just seems like Anton Frondell might play a more complete game somehow. But every single time I watch Eklund, I'm like, that guy is like he's the best Swedish player in the draft.
Yeah, you know what the thing with like Eklund and Link mentioned it, his motor is just unrelentless. Like I every time I watch a shift of Victor Eklund, I'm in awe. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, this kid does not stop. And he, like you said, Link said he's probably bigger than 5'11, 170 pounds, whatever they got him listed at, but he doesn't shy away from 6'4" guys, 6'2" guys. Like he is going into corners, full tilt, all the time. He does not stop. Like he's the Energizer Bunny. The kid does not stop. I love his game. I'm just worried about his offensive upside. A lot of players in this draft, obviously, I think have a higher skill set, but in terms of pace and compete, you can't go wrong with Victor Eklund, and he's unreal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. So at 10 for
You.
me, Anaheim Ducks are going to take. I'm going to say Lyndon Lakovic.
Woo!
I know this is probably like,
That's a hot take, but I like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
boy.
it's more of like a Beckett Seneca type player, which they already
Yes.
just drafted. But
He's your Becca
Paver
Seneca of the draft.
yeah, definitely. I've had him the first time I was scouting, I had him top 11, and then now he's creeped into my top 10 for sure. I just think that there's just so much potential here. He had a late growth spurt, and he was trying to figure out how to play in his body. And that's what he even said in the interview. Like, this guy's 6'4", he has so much talent. He's soft skill. Like, I think the Bunker Boys, one of them was talking about on your mock draft. That was a great mock draft. So definitely check that out. But look at that move. I mean, he's balanced. He's a
On
good
one knee.
skater. Yeah. Yeah. Look like Ovi. But not like that, but I just think that he had a really good season this year, and he was a leader of the team. So I just feel like Lyndon Lakovic is going to kill those interviews. One of the things that he told me was that he had hairy legs, so I just think that kind of increases him on my draft board a little bit. Yeah, it might lower his potential there, but yeah, I think so.
Oh man.
Yeah, you know what? A little bit high for a little bit rich for my blood, I guess you could say. I do have Lyndon Lakovic in my top 16, so I'll give you that. I don't. I have another player that I'm going to pick next after
Mhm.
you that I think probably should have went a little bit higher, and he's dropping a little bit in this mock, which I'm kind of surprised because I have him listed
His
higher.
name's
But
Jake
Lyndon
O'Brien. Let's
Lakovic,
be real.
what's that?
Yeah,
His name's Jake. His name's Jake O'Brien. Let's
Yeah.
let's not beat around the bush.
Well, come on, don't ruin my fun here. You know, I
All
gotta.
right, got it.
That's my next pick. You can't.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Divulge
keep
my
going.
secrets here. Yeah. But no, you know what? Lyndon Vlakovic, he's a great player. He's a big kid, and like you said, he's growing into his body. And once he fills out and he kind of adapts to his body, I guess you could say he's going to be a menace on the ice for sure.
Mhm.
For what Anaheim needs, I can totally see it. Lyndon Lakovic brings a shot, and he brings some really solid transition game. When he's got the puck on a stick, this guy really has a lot of potential. You can see a lot of great aspects in his game. However, I get jumpy. I get really, really anxious when I see a guy just kind of still, kind of static when he doesn't have the puck. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He doesn't throw the body that much. He's not as physical as you'd like to see him. Obviously,
Mhm.
you're always going to expect more out of a guy who's 6'4". And again, I like Jake O'Brien more. I think he's more of a little bit more of a baby face. That's not to say that I don't like Lyndon Lakovic. I really do like Lyndon Lakovic, and I think for what the Anaheim Ducks need, he is absolutely a target for them at 10. They kind of need to round out their core. They need to find guys to fit into that top 6, maybe their top 9. I think Lyndon Lakovic as kind of like a piece to a line in their middle 6 fits perfectly, and I think he's somebody that could
Mhm.
really make a splash there. However, I'm more of a Brady Martin, Jake O'Brien, Keyshawn Aitchison type of guy, but for the need, for the situation, for the team, I can totally see it.
Yeah, I definitely love your points for sure. Jake O'Brien is probably the pick. I want to see him in the exact same jerseys he's at in Brantford right now. But I think the thing about Lyndon Lakovich, I won't keep you guys here like for the Lyndon Lakovich talk that long, but he just has one of the highest upsides in the entire class, in my opinion. Like if he hits, this guy's going to be a like a top line player that could produce at the next level. I just think that if he grows into his size and starts to use his body more, you're going to get a completely different Lyndon Lakovich.
Fair enough. So I guess I get the honors of doing the next pick for the Pittsburgh Penguins, correct?
Yes, number 11.
No brainer. Jake O'Brien. Oh,
Wow.
the Brantford Bulldogs. This kid is dynamic. Now, he had like 98 points in 66 games, and he's a gamer. Power play specialist. This kid on the power play is magic. And guess what? Pittsburgh, they like the magic on the power play. So when you got a player like him coming in and absolutely doing the crazy stuff, he's a passer. He's definitely a passer. Sees the ice really well. The high hockey IQ. This kid has exceptionally high hockey IQ. He's not the greatest skater. That's the one knock on Jake O'Brien. But again, that's something that I always say can be remedied. You can't fix hockey IQ. You can't fix him slowing the pace down. He creates space, time and space. He's really good at that. And for him to be able to, there's players in the NHL that kind of, have that mentality where they can slow the pace down. And this is a kid that does that. Jake O'Brien is an offensive dynamo, and Pittsburgh would be sprinting. They won't even I guess you can't sprint to the podium anymore. They're going to be on the phone and just be like 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Jake O'Brien. Thanks. Boop, hang up. Done.
Yeah. Kyle Dubas is cashing this in as soon as he can. Pittsburgh's never really seen a player like this. I mean, they've always had Sid and Malkin, and it's always been about getting guys who can score on their wing. Never have we had a really as pure of a playmaker as Jake O'Brien fall to a team like Pittsburgh. Look, I really love the pick. We've talked about it so much. My only issue is like a little bit of skating, but he's really fantastic. He has really imprinted his mark in the top 10 for me. I really, really love Jake O'Brien.
Everybody that I've talked to from Brantford has said that he was the best player on their team, and Nick Larda scored 72 goals. So just imagine.
Just I would like to say the last year, because I know you got some Blackhawks fans here, just a little. But Merrick Van Acker last year, when I was watching a lot of his tape, I could not keep my eyes off of Jake O'Brien. I really was like, this guy. I would love to see what he does, because there's obviously there were some imperfections in his game last year. He's fixed a lot of them, and he looks really good. And once again, he was carrying that line with Merrick Van Acker, and on that power play, he fed Lardis like a baby. It was crazy. I loved it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great pick for Pittsburgh. Like you said, they would be running to that phone to call. But at 12, who are you going to take for the Rangers potentially if they keep this pick, Link?
Well, there's the red herring, or I would say red and white herring of Brady Martin there. But I don't think the Rangers are going to they're not going to keep this pick. I think they're going to give this pick to Pittsburgh because they don't want to give up a 2026 draft pick. That would be brutal in my opinion. So I think that the Pittsburgh Penguins will go with a Justin Carbonneau here at 12. I think you can't beat just the tools and the shot. I think there's a lot of things to love in Justin Carbonneau's game. He's quietly becoming really one of the most solid prospects, one of the most well-rounded prospects in this entire draft. Obviously, there are some flaws. He's had some bad games. Let's be completely honest and completely real with it here. But in my opinion, he's the best shooter in the draft. I think no one really comes close. Maybe an Anton Frondel, but look, just boom. Just so quickly. He can shoot from anywhere, from off balance, from any kind of different angle. He's very, very jumpy on the puck. I have never seen someone defend his teammates like he has. If you take a dirty hit, Justin Carbonneau is going to be at your defense like it's nothing. And also one of the most deceptive players in this draft. He has some sneaky good stick handling, and he's a sneaky good passer. He needs to get a little bit more accurate with his passes, but again, that's not completely his game. I think Justin Carbonneau really has a lot of upside. So Pittsburgh getting Carbo and O'Brien. I'm a little salty. I'm a little salty as a Flyers fan, I will say.
That would be a pretty sweet combo duo that they get back to back like that. Oh yeah, Pittsburgh for their kind of rebuild would be ecstatic about that. And like Lynn covered everything about Carbo. The thing with the only downside with Carbo is his consistency. There's some games where he's just gone. But when he is on, he is on. And he's a big kid too. He's 6'3", almost 200 pounds. So yeah, this is a kid and he's got some skill. He's got some skill. So yeah, that would be a sweet pickup by Pittsburgh for sure.
Yeah, that's a great pick for Pittsburgh. I could see them trading up for Jake O'Brien with 11 and 12, honestly. So to get Justin Carbonneau, like for free, basically, would be absolutely incredible. But I'm going to go to the Red Wings or at 13 here. And I think this is going to be, I could see Brady Martin for sure going here or a player like Radim Murka. I'm actually going to go with Brady Martin for sure. I mean, he brings the punch. I mean, I saw Cam Robinson's tweet saying that he could potentially be one of the best hitters in the entire NHL right now. He's definitely the best hitter in this entire class for his size too. I just think that this is a Stevie Y pick. He's falling in the draft. You could see this guy going top 10 for sure. I mean, what he did in the playoffs too, just incredible. So I think Brady Martin here.
Oh, that's a typical Stevie Y pick. I mean, if you look at the history, he likes the players with a lot of pace, a lot of motor, and look at this hit, boom. And then
wow.
this clip embodies Brady Martin. He hits two guys. Now that other D that he hit in the corner there frees him up in front for the goal. If it wasn't for him laying that guy out, he wouldn't be all alone out front like that. And so, yeah, in terms of Stevie Y picks, Brady Martin's a Stevie Y pick through and through. I mean, you can't go wrong. If you look at the history of, the Caspers and the Niels Brandstad Nygaard. So yeah, it's a Stevie Y pick for sure.
For sure, through and through, this is a Stevie Y pick. I think we're running out of Stevie Y picks to kind of like pick. I like Mertka here a little bit more. Obviously, I think that the more steady they get on the back end, the better they have a shot at the playoffs. So I like I like Mertka a little bit more here, but Brady Martin. I mean, what can you say about this guy? This guy's physical. This guy plays hard. This guy works like a tank. And guess what? He's only 6 foot something. Like 6 foot nothing,
6
like
feet,
180 something. Yeah, he's a what you guys would consider a tiny guy. I mean, if his name was Victor Eklund, you guys would be like not over. You guys would not be talking about him at all. I'm kidding. No, but Brady Martin is a fantastic player. He plays center. I talked about this with Misa. One of the best competes inside the faceoff circle. This guy's going to win a lot of faceoffs for you. He's going to be a gritty guy that you don't want to go against. I really see some long-term viability with this guy. He's going to be around the league for a long time, and he's going to imprint his mark on pretty much anyone who has the puck in front of him. It's a great pick here.
Yeah, 6 foot 174. Imagine if this guy starts to eat like factor meals where he's getting all the protein in.
When he's 195, watch out. Honestly, he's just he's gonna you're gonna need police scene tape because he's gonna
yeah. I do 3 or 4 push-ups a day. Like I know how to get bigger. I can like send him a whole link. But at 14 here, we're gonna go Columbus Blue Jackets.
That's me. That's me. So yeah, Columbus. You know who I'm taking. Link already mentioned it. You got Columbus. They just lost Juracek, so they're gonna pick up the biggest right shot D in the draft, and that is Radim Murtka. Oh, this kid is big. Now, he's not as physical as you would think, but he covers a lot of the ice. And the thing with him is that when you're that big and he's decent, he's got decent movement, mobility. And he came into Seattle from Czechia from the men's league and put up a clinic. Now, I don't think he's going to keep that pace in terms of points. However, just because he's so big and he covers the ice really well, that you can't go wrong with a right shot D. Right shot D are like the golden goose, right? The NHL love their big right shot D, and this kid is mobile. That's the thing with him. 6'6", but he moves really well on the ice. And so Columbus, they need Radim Murtka in their lineup for sure.
Very intriguing. Obviously it sucks to lose David Juracek, but to get a right-handed D at that size, at that skating speed, look, you're getting a very solid player. Obviously he's one of the more raw players. I've kind of been less enthusiastic about him, but I think the transition game is really, really intriguing. You have a more offensive Tyler Myers here. I really do like him.
His player comp for himself, he said, was Moritz Seider. And if he gets past
I love that.
13 with Stevie Y, uh, if he even gets to this point, I think
Yeah.
Columbus would be running to their phone as well. Like, it would just be an incredible pick here. Like you said, 6'6". He has a lot of offensive upside to his game as well. He wants to be the best check defenseman of all time too, and he only has hair on one side of his arm. So on the left arm, he actually doesn't have his hair. So
Yeah.
You know a lot of things about people's hair, right?
yeah, I don't know why they tell me, but I write them down as a checklist now. I have a whole
That's
spreadsheet.
awesome.
Oh boy, it's crazy.
All right,
That's
Next,
good
right?
for
Link
yep.
is up next. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Vancouver
got
Canucks.
Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver's pick. Look, Vancouver, rough year. I'm about to make it a lot better. Don't worry. So also to my Habs fans, I know you were expecting a certain right-handed defenseman to drop to you. It's not going to happen. I have Logan Hensler going here to Vancouver at 15. I was very big on Logan Hensler. I came into the year thinking that he was a player that would have been the second best player in this entire draft, second best defenseman in this entire draft. Wow. Just because he was fantastic at the US NTDP. He was phenomenal. There were times where there were some other better defensemen, but he really shined. His two-way game was really solid, and he was he was really solid offensively. When he came over to Wisconsin, as I would say some of the prospects that came over from the USNTDP that went to college they struggled a little bit. He definitely struggled a little bit to get into it, but he ended the year incredible. I really think he had a very strong end to the year. He made it count. He was skating really well. Watch this clip here. Whew, you just see the skating ability.
Watch the close up. Watch the close up.
Oh yeah,
right here.
this is something.
Dekes out that forward and then rifles it.
And
this is the potential that he brings.
He's more of a conservative defenseman now as a result because of his year in Wisconsin. There are some offensive things that I wanted him to clean up when he was at college. He hasn't really done that, but the offensive upside is still there. He's still 6'2", 6'3", right-handed shot, more of a two-way defenseman. You're getting a very steady presence in the back end. I think more than anything, Vancouver has shown that they are able to take these NCAA prospects and run with them because they do really well. And they have a very, very coveted NCAA defenseman in their back end right now. Hopefully he stays and doesn't get traded to New Jersey. But I think Logan Hensler would be a fantastic pickup for them at 15.
Yeah, Logan Hensler's a fantastic pick here. He was the youngest player on his team in Wisconsin, and his player comp for himself is a right-handed Jake Sanderson. So if they can get yeah, that's what he told me, and I was like, wow, I gotta clip that for sure. I haven't heard that one. I think that's a fantastic pick. You outlined it so good.
I love like Link said, I watch a lot of NTTP games. I'm right close to Plymouth here, so I watched him a lot last year, and I thought he was one of the best players on the NTTP last year, the U18s.
He was.
And then surprisingly he didn't put up the numbers like we said in Wisconsin this year. He had 12 points in 29 games, but that still was the second best in the entire league for U19 defensemen. So he, I think that, and the nice thing about Wisconsin, they cleaned up his defensive game, which was nice. The kid is very responsible defensively, and he's so mobile for a 6'2" right shot D. He's another one that's very mobile. And I think that if you can unlock that offensiveness in him, watch out. That's going to be a great pickup.
I also think even in the fall when people were like, oh, he's not scoring enough. I still think in the fall that he was far and away the second best player in the NCAA. I think James Higgins was obviously, that's a hard guy to catch up to. But him and Cullen Potter were coming out the gate really strong for what they would end up becoming. We thought that Hensler was going to be an offensive defenseman at 6'2". I don't think that's what he looks like. Obviously, he said it himself. Jake Sanderson, a two-way game, a really steady player. I love the comp. I love that he's able to recognize what his game is, and he's going to be that steady presence for whoever picks him. Hopefully, Vancouver or someone earlier. So,
yeah. And to close out the top 16 and this mock draft, it's me with the Montreal Canadiens. And I'm going to go with somebody that had a terrible, terrible injury, but Carter Bear, who is coming off a lacerated Achilles. And I don't think he'd be here without that injury. But Montreal Canadiens is coming out of this draft to start off their picks with an incredible haul here. Carter Bear is a player that he compared himself to Brandon Hagel. and I completely agree with him. Playoff player. He is that archetype where he's going to do all the dirty work, get into the. He's going to work all three levels of the zone. He's good defensively, and I think his transition game is good too. The only problem is the lacerated Achilles and how he recovers. But I posted a clip like or a couple days ago, and him going through his injury and giving us an update, and he said the recovery is speedy and he is doing well. So I just feel like if the medicals come out clear, or the plan is okay for teams, he could be a top 15 player. But to get him at 16 is pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? I think I would have went with Malcolm Spence at this pick. I just love Malcolm Spence. He's got that grit, the scoring touch that Montreal could really. He's got that that dog in him, right? That's a now Montreal's got back-to-back picks here, so they got 16 and 17, so they could flirt around. Now they probably would look for a right-handed D, but unfortunately Hensler just went to Vancouver, so. I bet you they were hoping that Hensler would drop to them because they could probably go like Bear Hensler, Spence Hensler, something like that. But now I'd be interested to see what they do, or if they decide to maybe make a trade here with one of the picks and pick up a player and then make a move. So there's a lot of options for Montreal sitting at 16 and 17.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, Anthony. I'm not the biggest. I would say I'm not the biggest fan on Carter Bear. I obviously there's a lot of case for him. I would say his motor is second to Eklund in this draft. He's one of the hardest workers in this entire draft. My issue kind of comes with the offensive upside. I don't know if the Canadians want to take a swing on a guy with the offensive upside that he has. I would take a guy like Malcolm Spence a little bit like this, maybe even a guy like Cullen Potter. I'm a little bit more concerned about the skating and the recovery from the injury than most. I would say his skating style to me kind of looks a little stiff from the ankle down, and with the specific injury to the Achilles, that kind of worries me a little bit. That's some of the things that I kind of notice in his game, but not to say that this guy is a really tremendous player. What goes unnoticed in his game is he's a really smart player. Off puck, on puck, he really is great in anticipation. You see it when he crashes the net. He's going to be one of the better players from this draft class in and around the net. It just, from what happens after that, I don't really know. Again, I've clocked a good like 15 games in him. I'm a little worried about the offensive upside more than anything. And the Achilles, it hurts. It really sucks. And I really hope he doesn't fall that much. Because I've seen some people say that he falls out of the top 25, and I'm like, okay, let's
Oh, I don't know about that.
let's be realistic here. He's a tremendous worker, and I would love to see players go who work that hard go as high as they should, because again, they deserve it. But again, a little bit more concerned with just offensive upside, what he's going to be at the next level, how much is he going to score for the Habs. But yeah, good pick.
In my mock draft, I'm sorry, Mark.
No,
In
go
my
ahead.
mock draft I just did yesterday, I for Draft Pros for the magazine, that won't be posted for a while, but I actually have Malcolm Spence and Carter Bear going 16 and
Ah.
17. So you can flip flop either one. I actually love both of them. And the reason that I would mock Carter Bear here is because since they do have two picks, you can take the high upside swing. So I was thinking either like, well, Cam Schmidt would also be the other one that has high upside, but they have Cole Caulfield. So I don't know if they want two under
They would.
very
I
very
don't think
small.
they'd go Cameron
Yeah,
Schmidt here.
for sure. So that's why I picked Carter Bear. But Malcolm Spence going to Michigan, we didn't even talk about like him going to Michigan. I think that he's 12 on my board, so he wasn't even taken for Malcolm Spence. And like I definitely feel like he should be 16 or 17. So even if they flop, but like you said, Logan Hensler would be phenomenal here. Pair him up with like I know they have David Reinbacher as well. I'm not as high on him. I would have taken Mitchkov for sure. I don't want to open the wound there. But yeah,
I feel great about that pick, actually.
I
I'm
was
glad they
at
took
that
Reinbacher.
draft. I was at that draft. I was sitting there and I'm like, Reinbacher went 5th. I'm like, oh my God, if Philly passes on Mishkov, I'm going to lose my mind. And they didn't. So I was kind of happy, but I was like, I couldn't believe it. Here,
Yeah.
you want me to pull up our list here? So go ahead and bring that down a little bit, Link, and let's get.
Let's do that.
So there we have it. Go ahead,
Hopefully.
Anthony. Tell us the numbers here.
Yeah, we'll put Malcolm Spence in at 17 just for an extra. You guys should subscribe and like just for that extra pick there. But Schaefer, Misa, Frondell, Haggins is our top four. And I feel that there's a clear top four online, and it's not what's going to happen in the draft.
Never
So
does. Never does.
nope. Yeah. And it's going to be hard for some fans when the Blackhawks don't take Porter Martone because it's probably not going to happen. But Anton Frandel, like Mark said, you got to check out his video. It's incredible on NHL Draft Pros. But you can see that toe drag release that he has. And whatever he has, it Mark just says, that's a great toe drag release. And it's like my morning alarm. I love listening to that. So to round out the top five, you have Caleb Desnoyers, Porter Martone going to the Flyers to pair him up with Matvey Michkov. I don't know if they would play on the same line, but if they did, oh boy. Roger McQueen, Boston Bruins, definitely I think is going to be there for Don Sweeney. Seattle Kraken take Jackson Smith, and then Victor Eklund falls so far to the Sabres, which I think would be an absolute steal here. I would wonder to see if the Sharks try to trade back in just to try to pair up him and his brother. I think that would be the story of the draft. But Anaheim Ducks with Pav Verbeek take Lyndon Lakovich, which could be Jacob Bryan there, but I wanted to see Jacob Bryan in the Pittsburgh Penguins jersey at 11. Justin Carbonneau at 12, which is one of Link's favorite players other than Carter Amico, I think would be great for the Pittsburgh Penguins to pick up him. 13, Brady Martin, which is a heavy hitter. Stevie Y pick, which he could also take Radim Merker there. But Radim Merker goes 14 to the Blue Jackets, and then Canucks with Logan Hensler, and then Montreal back-to-back Carter Bear and Malcolm Spence, who is going to Michigan. And that's a free pick, like I said. So subscribe to both of their channels as well for that pick. Yeah.
Awesome stuff, guys. Thanks to the Prospect Don for having us on. It was pretty fun. Always fun when we talk hockey, right, boys?
Oh yeah, gotta love it.
I think about this all night. So it's the first thing I think about in the mornings, last thing I think about at night. So it's always awesome to talk people that are on the same frequency as you guys. You guys are incredible. Please check out all of their stuff. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And that was a great mock draft. Comment down below, who do you think you guys would who the top 16 in your opinion would be?
Thanks for having us, buddy.